All right, so with the 2010s being over for some time now, let's take a look back and look more in depth as to who was the best player every year of the 2010s, starting with the 2010-2011 season and ending with the 2019-2020 season. So, the 2010-2011 season, this was the season that the Big Three in Miami was formed. This was the season that Derrick Rose won his iconic MVP. And this was also the season that Dirk Nowitzki won his championship and finals MVP. So, of this entire season, who is the best player? So our contenders are LeBron James, Dirk, Dwight Howard, CP3, KD, and D Wade. And looking at all these players, I mean, if we have to go overall, it should be LeBron. I mean, let's be honest. All the advanced metrics favor him. It's pretty cut and dry, but he choked so bad in the 2011 finals, and it's at that point, after that series, it would be so hard to continue to give him that best player in the world title when he had the most stacked team in the league and fell short. So I feel that it's really a debate between LeBron and, say, KD here, with some honorable mentions to Dwight and Dirk Nowitzki. I'll give it to LeBron, but reluctantly. So then we go into the 2011-2012 season. And this was the season that LeBron redeemed himself. And here he won his first championship. And as great as, KD and Dwayne Wade and CP3 were, it was LeBron's year. He was the MVP, Finals MVP. His dominance was just on display. And then he followed it up with the 2012-2013 season where he did even better. And I believe he was one vote away from being a unanimous MVP and a couple votes away from being the Defensive Player of the Year as well. Yeah. All respect to KD, it was LeBron's year. So now it gets interesting. The 2013-2014 season, this is when Kevin Durant wins MVP. And the Finals MVP is Kawhi Leonard of the Spurs. So throughout the regular season, Kevin Durant was the better player. However, throughout the playoffs, consistently the best player was LeBron James. And when you factor in LeBron's defensive prowess compared to, at that time, KD being a decent defender, but, nothing special, I still have to give it to LeBron. 2013-2014, but KD was starting to make his argument very, very convincing. Then we go into the 2014-2015 season. This is when Curry wins his first MVP and his first championship. And the Finals MVP here was Iguodala. So at this point, I don't think Curry was better than LeBron. I don't think he was putting up the same numbers to really put him in that conversation. And even when they went head to head, LeBron was clearly dominating the Warriors. So, despite Curry winning MVP for the 2014-2015 season, the best player is still LeBron James. Now, for the 2015-2016 season, here's where it starts getting a little bit interesting, because now Curry is just coming off a championship, even though he didn't win Finals MVP, which he should have, but that's a video for another day. And he wins MVP in the regular season, and it's so convincing, it's unanimous. And he has one of, if not the best offensive season of this entire generation, of the entire decade. He has the best offensive season. And at this point, for a brief period of time, Curry was the best player in the world. But then LeBron came back in the finals and took it. He took the crown back with that 3-1 comeback and that iconic finals. He won Finals MVP, and he led both teams in every major statistical category. Whew. Now we go into the 2016-2017 season, where the NBA was never quite the same. Here's when Kevin Durant joined the Warriors and created a super duper team and left his boy Westbrook high and dry. And Westbrook went on to win regular season MVP, averaged a triple-double, won the scoring title, led the league in PER, value over replacement player, box plus minus, basically name a statistical category, and Westbrook was near the top of the list. But those who know basketball know that Westbrook was not the best player in the world. Here, it becomes the debate between LeBron and Kevin Durant comes in again. And even though Kevin Durant won Finals MVP, I do still have to give it to LeBron, with a slight edge to LeBron, because LeBron was keeping up with him head to head in the finals, though I do believe KD deserved that Finals MVP. But LeBron consistently had to carry more load throughout the season and in the finals. And I believe LeBron at that point could still just do more than Kevin Durant could do, although it was close. Now we enter the 2017-2018 season. This is when Harden wins MVP, and he now enters his name into the best player in the world discussion. However, they lost to the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, and the Warriors went on to sweep the Cavs. Despite that, I still have LeBron as the best player of the 2017-2018 season, although again, it's close with Kevin Durant, but I just think the standards for LeBron were higher. If you look at that series, the Western Conference Finals series, the excuse the Warriors give is they didn't have Iguodala, but the Rockets didn't have CP3, yet it still went 7 games. Kevin Durant should have taken control of that series and ended it in 6. If that was LeBron, in my opinion, that's what would have happened. LeBron with that level of supporting cast. That's just my opinion. So the 2018-2019 season, is when the NBA landscape really, really begins to change. Here, LeBron suffers really the first major injury of his career and is out for a lot of the regular season. He's on the Lakers team with, a bunch of the young guys, and they don't even make the playoffs. So with LeBron being injured and missing a lot of the season and them not making the playoffs, and even when LeBron was healthy, he was very poor on defense and he wasn't quite putting in the same impact he was offensively as before. It seemed like there was leaving room for a new best player in the world, at least temporarily. And, this was the season where Giannis won his first MVP, and it looked like Giannis might be on his way to ascending to that throne. However, the automatic fill-in guy, a lot of people were thinking was KD. But until the finals, they didn't really talk about Kawhi Leonard, who was a guy who was kind of in that top 5, if not top 3 discussion before his injury. And moving to the Raptors on the Spurs, he was kind of in that top 3. And he went to the Raptors and he led them to a championship. And he kind of carried them. Not even kind of. He did. There are certain series, like the second round, that 76er series, where his teammates couldn't buy a bucket. And he was going against the 4-headed monster 76ers with Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, and Tobias Harris. But Kawhi Leonard was still head and shoulders by far the best player. If you look at that playoff run, he was putting up Michael Jordan numbers on Michael Jordan level of efficiency. It was insane. And nobody else had that level of load that they were carrying. Giannis was close a little bit, but nobody else who made it that far was carrying that level of load. Kawhi Leonard really had kind of the typical LeBron James carry job. And, he didn't just make it to the finals, he won the finals. So I had to give the best player in the world title to Kawhi that year. Then going to 2019-2020, Kawhi Leonard joins the Clippers with Paul George. And the Clippers now become favorites to win the title. And at this point, a lot of people are calling Kawhi the best player in the world. But the Clippers underperformed in the regular season and massively disappointed in the playoffs. Giannis won MVP again and Defensive Player of the Year, but flamed out in the playoffs again. But LeBron James had a comeback season for the ages and was second in MVP voting, dominated throughout the playoffs, and won Finals MVP. And it's crazy how LeBron started this decade as the best player in the world and ended as the best player in the world. Though, in my opinion, that was his last season as, the best player in the world. But again, that's a video for another day. So, guys, like, comment, and subscribe, and talk to you guys later.